Okay, welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to disassemble the fork on a DUCATI Monster 600. This is my bike. As you can see, it have the upside down fork. I believe they are Mazzocchi 40 mil forks. I haven't taken them off the bike yet because I have spares, and I'm planning to replace the right leg with a spare one, just because the current one on it, this is not the correct right leg fork for this bike. As you can see, the Monster 600 only has a single disc on the left side, and this side it currently have another mounting point for another caliper, but this is actually on the left side. It is not on the right side, and I think the original fork doesn't have this mounting point for another caliper. Or because I have another spare pair, plan to replace this with the correct fork for the right side with another mounting point for caliper that is slightly inward, because this one is, as you can see now, is slightly outward. So this should be on the other side. Let me show you. So this is the other fork I have. As you can see, this is for the right side leg with the correct mounting point for another caliper. That is slightly, if you can see, is slightly, the position of it is slightly towards the inside of the fork. This is the outside of the fork. So I'm going to replace this one, put this one on the bike, and take the current right fork leg off. So what I'm going to need is obviously your fork. You need a adjustable spanner, a flat screwdriver, a couple of rags, because it's going to get messy. You need to pour the oil out, and it's going to get very messy. A container to collect oil. That's the oil that I got out from the other spare fork. You can use a vise to grip it, but I'm just using this workbench, so to give me a little bit of grip on the fork when I'm opening the top cap, and also just this workbench just to put stuff on it. So let's start it. Alright, so first I'm just going to put this fork through the as you can see, I'm using the mesh to clamp onto it. So my bench has this rubber piece on the edge, so it's sort of a soft surface to grip onto the fork, because you don't really want to damage it. If you're using a vise, you probably want to use a soft clamp vise, because these are made of aluminium. They are not the hardest metal around, and you can easily dent or damage them. So get your adjustable spanner onto the top and just open it. it's okay. This fork, it's not like other forks. Once you open the top cap, the spring inside is trying to pop it like a rocket. This one, because there's an inner plate that stop that spring, the loaded spring, from popping this off. I mean, the spring is still loaded, it's still under pressure, but because it's a stop plate on top, and this is not going to fly anywhere. As you can see, yep. So that's the top cap off. You can see that if I release the fork, you will see that the outer tube will just slide off like that. And this is the plate. There's a plastic tube here, and the spring is still under load. It's compressed by this plate. It's holding that spring inside, and to release the pressure of the spring, what you have to do is push down on this end plate, and there are two half washers in there that sit in a groove of this piston rod. So that's holding the end plate and the spring together and preventing it from popping off. Once I open it, you'll see that there's a groove that for the washers to sit in, and they sit in that little place in the top plate. So what I have to do is just to push down onto that. A little bit hard. Push down on that, and as you can see, that the washer is trying to get off. So it's not easiest to do, because I mean it's a lot of fork oil in there and it's very slippery. It's hard to get a grip on it. Don't know if I'm ever going to get it off. So yeah. Yeah. So just try to get So I got one off. You can see it's the half washer that's sitting there. I'll try to get the other one off as well. Actually, right, turn it around a bit so it's easier for me to fish it out. So push that on it. So once that washer is off, you just have to be careful that there's nothing there to stop the spring anymore. and it's going to try to pop the stop plate off. So you have to hold on to it, otherwise it's just going to fly. It might hit you in the face, and you don't really want that. So now you can see that's the inner plastic tube that goes inside the inner tube of the fork and compress onto the spring. Now I'm just taking the spring out. You can see that is a long spring. And it is a progressive spring. As you can see, the space between the coils down the bottom is larger than on the top, so when you first travel, it's kind of a little bit soft. It's only compressing the bottom spring, and then when it's compressed down hard, it's going to use the top spring to try to exempt. Okay, so that's spring. Now you just want to tip the oil out. So get the container there, release the fork. Okay. Oh, that's another thing, because the outer tube, as you can see, slide off easily from the inner tube. It's not like other forks that there's a bushing on the inner tube that's going to clamp, that's going to stop it from sliding off the outer tube, because the bushing is going to hit that seal. But on this fork, it doesn't. The bushing and the seal are all on the outer tube, and the inner tube will slide off easily from the other tube. So now you just have to tip the oil out. You probably want to give the piston rod a bit tug up and down, just to get as much of the fork oil out as you can. Yeah, once you hear that sucking sound, that means most of the oil is out. The piston is just pushing out air in and out. But you probably want to hold it like that for some time, just to get rid of the oil. So after that, a little bit of wipe, put it on the side. And then you wipe this oil off. Like I said, it's going to get messy, and I'm not like I said, this is my first time doing this job, and I'm not that experienced, so kind of expect it to get messy. So let's just put this somewhere else, and I'll show you how to get the seal out. So yeah, those are all the parts. You want to collect them, you don't want to lose them. I can see it's pretty simple before. Let's do oil dripping out the outer tube. So can we give this the other one? Okay. Spring. Okay. Now, there's the oil dripping out. Remember this, just have to work with it because it's going to take a long time to get all the oil drain out. So use the screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, just to go underneath the dust cap a little bit. Don't use too much force, because you might damage the fork, the tube or the dust cap rubber. So just give a little bit of push, so it will start to come off from the fork tube. Yep, once you can see it's starting to separate, use your hands just to, yep, just pull it out, and then now you will see that the fork seal, and in front of that there's a clip, that steel clip sitting in the groove that's holding the seal in there. And then behind that seal, it's the bushings. So because of the bushing is on the outer tube rather than on the inner tube, and the seal is also on the outer tube, so that's why the inner tube will just slide off from the outer tube straight away, instead of I mean, if you see other fork seal and oil replacement jobs, you'll know that once you start to slide them off, at the one point you'll hit the bushing will hit the seal and you'll get stuck, and you have to try to hit or tug that a few times, trying to use the bushing to hit that seal out, but not on this one. So next I'm going to take the clip out. So I might need a different screwdriver. Different one. So one is too thick to get underneath the So put screwdriver there. It's really hard. It's quite hard to, because this clip, as you can see, is pretty much flush with that groove, and it's not like a steel wire clip that has little kinks in there that you can put a screwdriver there and easily pry out. This one is a little bit hard to do. I mean, the process I might damage the seal in there, but that's going to get replaced anyway, so I'll probably do it this way. Hold it. Trying to get this out. Oh, I don't know why this one is too. Right, okay. Starting to come out. So as you can see, that's the clip holding the fork together. Holding the fork in place. It doesn't really want to come out. It's really this one is really difficult. Yeah. Alright, so that's the clip holding the seal. So now what I'll do is, because there's no other way that you can put a seal drive or anything in there to knock the seal out, or using the sliding tube method to use a bushing to hit the seal out. So the only way you can get that seal out is using that screwdriver to pry out. So to do that, you probably see that there is a kind of a gap between the seal, and there's an inner steel washer between that and the bushing. So you put the screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, in that gap and try to push against the outer casing of the tube, so basically in that direction. So I'm pulling on the screwdriver handle towards me, using that outer tube casing as a leverage point to pry that seal out. But because you might damage the outer casing, so what I'm going to do is put the rack there where I'm going to leverage the screwdriver. So okay. So if the pushing method is not working, the next one is you just twist the screwdriver. The other head is still in that gap, so you're trying to use the thick steel washer behind it as the leverage point, because it's a very thick washer, so it's less likely to get damaged. Yeah, it's coming up. But make sure that you put the screwdriver between the gap of the seal and that steel washer, otherwise you're going to damage the tube or the bushing inside. Ooh. I didn't expect that. So there it is, the fork seal that is out. And you'll see that's the steel washer behind it. So, and then inside there is your bushing and another tube. And there's another bushing right on the top. So you have to remember which direction that it goes in. You probably see that there's a slightly curved edge on this side, and it is completely flat on the other side. So that side goes in, and a slightly curved surface is facing out towards the seal. So after that, you just have to replace the seal and putting everything together, and then putting the fork oil. In my case, is specified as 440 ml per leg. So, and everything can be put back the bike. Thanks for watching.